2-3 factor security factor before you can withdraw money from my account. It's not like I even have money in the account. But let's move on. Let's talk about the relief, economic relief done by or reeled out by the National Economic Council. Apparently my guest cannot be reached, so I'm going to do the show alone with you on the other side of the radio, of course. So I'm looking at NEC reels out economic reliefs, the economic reliefs that were mentioned yesterday, and we're going to look at them, and I'm going to ask your opinion. Do you see these things helping Nigerians who are going through a very difficult time at this point? Do you see it helping? Do you see it reducing the burden, reducing the brunt of the petrol subsidy removal? I like to know when I open the phone lines. But for now, let me run through some of the things that were reeled out yesterday. Now, the National Economic Council comprises of the Vice President, who is the chairperson, the 36 state governors, the Minister in charge of Finance. There's no minister now, so I'm guessing maybe the permanent secretary in that ministry, the governor of the central bank, in this case the acting governor, and the group chief executive officer of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL. Mele Kyari is the person now, and these people make up the National Economic Council. On a lighter note, Rivers State was represented by the deputy governor. It doesn't really mean anything except you want to play, a joke. You want to make a joke and say, "Oh, the former governor told the current governor not to go to Abuja," and then, but anyways, like I said, it's on a lighter note. Looking at the economic reliefs, it was agreed that the state and local government will do the cash transfer. So what will happen is the local government will generate the list of the poorest of the poor as well as the state government. And when this is done, then the transfer will be done to the poorest of the poor. And so I'm guessing the 8,000 naira for 12 million homes for 6 months will be done using the social register from the local government and the states. As a matter of fact, the states will do it themselves. Also, remember yesterday you and I talked about the 1.9 plus billion that was generated as revenue and was to be shared, by the federal government, the state government, and the local government. After the meeting, Dele Alake came out and told us that not all of the money will be used. Almost half of the money will be shared. The remaining amount will be kept. The remaining amount will be kept for something they called infrastructure. They called it a name. I remember it. So that's also to ensure that state governments can go into things like agriculture and other economic practices that will help cushion the effects of the economic realities we currently find ourselves in. Also, there is the cash award for civil servants. So civil servants will get a certain amount which is tax-free, so as to be able to get by in these difficult times that we find ourselves in. There is also the talk about reduction in the cost of governance, and the reduction that was proposed, one of it is that governors would use lesser convoys. I don't know how feasible that one is, but it was proposed, it was talked about, and it was agreed upon. A reduction in the cost of governance and governors have been asked to use lesser convoys. There was also the resolution that state governments will transition from petrol dependency to, usage of gas, solar energy, and the likes. For, vehicles, it was proposed that gas should be used. CNG should be used, and there is a process where people were supposed to transition from petrol to CNG, started by the previous administration. The resolution was that there should be a speedy achievement of that transitioning. There was also the talk about distribution of grain and fertilizers to farmers, and that NEMA should ensure that this distribution happens. The NEMA should distribute to the state governors, who will then distribute to the various local governments in their domain. The question is, so NEMA had all, I think Andrew asked that question in the morning. So NEMA had this food and grain and fertilizers in their stock all this while. Anyways, conversation for another day. The sixth one is the promise to reach out to all sectors and segments of society. So this is not the end. There will be more policies that will be rolled out, that will be, done by the government, so that everybody is carried along and everybody does not feel, or nobody feels left out. The question then in my head is, we removed subsidy so that we can have more money. Should we not be putting the money into things, investments that will generate more money, so that all of these things that we're trying to achieve, social welfare, for instance, will be done with ease? And why am I saying so? Look at the 8 years of Buhari. He focused on infrastructure. The 6 years of Goodluck Jonathan, where would I say he focused on now? He tried to stabilize the economy. He focused on security. Can I argue that? Maybe. You look at the few years of Yaradua, 2 years plus, he focused on also trying to build the economy. He tried to retrieve companies that were privatized illegally, according to him. He also tried to stabilize the Niger Delta, so he focused on security. Now, all of these people were spending money, but nobody really spent money on industries or invest in things that will churn out money and help the revenue of the country. If you go back to Obasanjo's period, apart from cancellation of debt and trying to bring foreign investors into the country, we also lacked, the investments in industries and all of that stuff that will bring us money. And it's no wonder our Naira is not doing as great as it should, given, like Tony Cole said on Wednesday on Channels TV, that we import almost everything. Antonio Cole was arguing that even if we get the refineries working, a lot of the things that will be needed in the refinery will be imported from other countries, so it will add to the cost of production. Which then brings us to the question I've been asking over the weeks. Should we not be looking at, you've said Nigerians should be patient. Nigerians should sacrifice for a while. But should the sacrifice not give birth to a greater good in the future? And how will sharing, my opinion by the way, how will sharing money to the poorest of the poor help the country boom, grow? Given that, as we talked about the other day in the course of the week, 99.2% of revenue, very important now, 99.2% of revenue is used to service debts. should we not be focusing on ensuring that we improve revenue generation? Nigerians are being taxed. Like I told you yesterday when we were talking about FAC, a large chunk of it was gotten from taxation. When you look at the IDRO in River State, a lot of it was gotten from taxation. But imagine if we had, like someone texted not so long ago, industries are nursing our natural resources from gold to all the other things that we have underneath. Then I'm guessing Nigerians wouldn't have to pay as much tax as other countries in the world. But what do I know? I wish I can get to my guest, really I do. But in his absence, I'm going to open the phone lines right now and get your views on this issue. Remember, we're live on Facebook, Nigerian for PH. We're active on Twitter, Nigerian for PH. And we are live on YouTube, Nigerian for PH. You can send me your messages to WhatsApp number 0809 030 6416. That's the number. Yes, send me those messages now. Send your messages to the WhatsApp number 0809 030 6416. Or better still, you can ring the studio right now and let's get to hear what you think about this economic relief measures put in place or resolutions agreed upon by the state governors, the central bank acting governor, and NNPCL, and of course the vice president. Do you think it's enough? Do you think it will impact a lot on the economy? Do you think it will help cushion the effect that Nigerians are feeling currently due to the economic realities? 08179230002 and 08179230003. I've got Daniel from Imogate. Daniel, welcome. Let's talk now.
Good evening, Canada.
Good evening to you.
Yes. Daniel Imogate.
Welcome.
Yes. The question you ask, I really don't know if our leaders, it's like when they are out of the office, they will understand what they ought to do. But I don't want to sound derogatory anyway. But for me, the palliative or whatever can't help us anywhere. Look at the IGR, internally generated revenue that we are talking about, to service them. Why can't our politicians cut down their allowances and all the flamboyant lifestyle that they are living, so that it will trickle down to the poor man? Because these their policies is only creating a wider gap between the poor and the rich. Simple. Because you cannot tell me you use the service debt palliative. Many has been asking, what is the data? How can they capture? Even if you do it village, they say local government. My village here cannot even capture the poorest people here in Ozrak.
Why do you say so? Why do you think it cannot capture? Why do you feel so?
It is impossible. They will use their cronies, their relatives, and this is Nigeria where we are. They will use even the richer ones are the ones that will benefit from it.
All right.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. But Daniel, quick one before I let you go. What about NEMA distributing food, to help reduce the price of food commodities in the marketplace? Is that not a good one? Is that not a good idea?
NEMA distributing food. Who will foot the bill? Is it not the thing that they will use? Although Tony Cole says imported, but let me be sincere. If they want to hold me, I tell you, sometime when they were doing this crude oil business, it doesn't take anything to refine oil. That's what I'm saying.
All right then.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I've got Chris from Port Harcourt. Chris, welcome on the show. Let's talk.
Yes. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, for me, I think it will help a long way because, like as you said, you really need to understand this. This thing is targeted at the poor people. It will reduce the poverty level.
Will it?
In Nigeria.
Will it?
It's not for rich men.
Will it? That's what I'm asking. 5 to 1.9 plus million people, and yet more people fell into poverty last year or even the beginning of this year.
That one, the implementation was not okay, but this time, if they do it well, it's going to help. Like some people say, to the acronym and all of that. Okay, let me use these buses, for example. Some people even say, hey, for a particular party member. I want to ask, if you enter that bus, will they ask you if you are PDP or AP?
All right.
You will just enter the bus and all of that. So it's targeted at the poor people.
All right.
Because like before,
Chris, summarize.
Before,
yeah.
The subsidy was for the big men. But now the thing is the other way around.
All
so
right, then.
whether they spend money or not, this money is spent on the poor people.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Clinton, can I take your call? I don't think I can take your call. So can you please call back and let's hear what you have to say, because it's almost time for a commercial break. It's almost time for us to go for another commercial break. When we come back on the other side of the commercial break, I'll listen to your thoughts and what you think about this. All right, let's get the show continued. I'm very forgetful today. I do not know why. I don't know why. Maybe it's the reality of the state of the economy. I don't know. It probably hits me today, but I'm very forgetful. So, if you're joining us right now, you're listening to Hard Facts on 92.3 Nigeria Info, and we are talking about the economic relief released by the National Economic Council, which comprises the Vice President, the 36 state governors, and other financial stakeholders. And the question I'm asking is, how impactful is this relief measure or measures released by the National Economic Council? How impactful is it? I was trying to tell you about the FAC distribution, where I said only about half of it will be distributed. 970 billion, is it? Yeah, 970 billion naira will be distributed. What am I saying? 970 million naira will be distributed, while about 790 billion will be stored or saved, for what they call the infrastructure scheme. It's going to be the infrastructure support fund. So I've gotten my statistics right now. 907 billion naira will be used as FAC distribution, while 790 billion. 700 and the statistics is just confusing anyway, Trace. I'll get my statistics eventually right. But hey, these measures, are they good enough? Are they strong enough? Do you think, like I'm thinking, we should use these monies for things that will generate revenue for us, like industries, like the likes? 08179230002, 08179230003. WhatsApp number is 0809-0306416. All right, yeah. My guest, I should get back to my guest. My guest is now available. So while I'm taking your calls, I'll get to my guest and we'll talk for development. Once again, 0817-923-0002 and 0817-923-0003.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think the impact will be less because we Nigerians, we voted in this government and we believe in this man, President Tinubu, to actually change the fortunes of Nigerians. So are we happy? I don't think we are happy. Are we patient enough? Is there need for us to be patient? Yes. So I think these palliatives are just for the time being. They are just there to cushion the effect of Nigeria because we are not patient enough to wait till when things start working.
All right.
So I think when the government finally sets in, that's when the president have his ministers in place who can actually start questioning, asking these pertinent questions that the government should make everything work. But what we want actually is for Nigeria to be industrialized, like you said, because like you stated in your fact that we 99% of our revenue is gotten from taxation and it's poor. And this doesn't center on the federal government alone. I think the state government need to do more by industrializing the state. How many states, how many property do Rivers State have in Rivers State? How many do we have? How many companies? So I think the state governments on their own part need to do more to help the federal government ameliorate the harsh economic effect felt by Nigerians.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Clinton. Okay, so my guest is now available, is on the phone. Good evening to you, Mr. Cletus Ilugo. All right.
Nigeria Info. First, let me appreciate Nigeria Info for always looking forward and attending to issues as early as they come. And so I've listened keenly to the discussions ongoing. I think it's very, very timely, but it's important we'll understand certain things. As good as the policies are, looking at the situation where the government intends to make cash transfers to individuals, this is just a temporary measure. For how long do we intend to transfer cash? Do you know the implication of money supply in economics?
Now you tell me.
The more you deal on cash supplies, money economy, the more you are vulnerable to other external shocks. And let me also say this, when there is currency trafficking and the rest of them, how do you manage all of this? But what we need in Nigeria, as good as this policy is to the government, because they want to ensure that their political and political acceptance before the citizenry is good. What the citizens need at this point is what we call investment in infrastructure, key sectors of the economy that will trigger employment and reduce unemployment and underemployment. Secondly, what the government needs at this juncture is to ensure that we promote policies that will attract more foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment in our country. These things are very key. This will also boost the purchasing power of Naira, and then our foreign exchange will be strengthened. That will also give us stability in our macroeconomy. So these are very key that we need to critically look at all of this. And thirdly, the government needs to also do things by way of economic development that will elicit public acceptance and public support from the people. I would rather say the removal of petrol subsidy or fuel subsidy as it is called, yes, might be good enough, but it is so sudden. And so whatever we're doing now, even if you reduce the pump price to 100 Naira today, the damaging effect of this almost 60 days that were passed through cannot be recovered in the next 6 months. That's an economic quagmire that we have also exposed us. That's one of the things we call shock in economics. So until we understand that what we're doing must try as much as possible to buffer, to prevent shock from happening in the economy, we will remain vulnerable to the whims and caprices of externality, and externalities to some extent bring the economy to vulnerability.
So let me understand. Can you hear me?
What I'm saying here is this. It is important that this measure that the government is doing is not very temporary one. It's not sustainable. We need to deepen our investment paradigm. We need to deepen opportunities for investment, both private, public, and foreign investors in our state, while reducing things that expose us to externalities, such as insecurity, so that the public and private sector participation in economic development will be deepened, and employment will be generated, and income will be what will be earned by both the government and the citizens, and that will also enhance our secular flow of income, boosting economy, boosting consumption, increasing savings and investment, and deepening our currency value in the wider market. Thank you.
Now, I wanted to ask you a question. You said in the short term, these policies are good, but in the long term, these policies are not sustainable. I do not understand. How is the policy good in the short term and not sustainable in the long term? Can you explain that?
Very much. The policy is good in the short term because the Nigerian citizens have been exposed to external shock. External shock in the form of the inability to carry out consumption. So the Nigerian populace are striving for survival. So in the short term, whatever you are doing is like creating avenues for resuscitation and survival. And once people are surviving and we continuously survive on it, it may not in any way deepen our economy. That's the challenge. So if you look at it in the short run, let me make you understand what we mean by short run and long run effect of certain policies. For instance, if there is a flood today in Nigeria, What you need immediately is to create immediate shelter to ensure that the survivors have a place to sleep. But that shelter is not durable. So you need, while they are staying in the short-term shelter, you need to provide a stronger shelter that can sustain them in the long run, while also looking at the remote and proximate causes of the flooding, so that you can manage it from not repeating itself and destroying the long-term shelter that you are providing. So in the short run, cash transfer are in the development paradigm, and it's a humanitarian measure. Cash transfer are just short-term measures to create survival strategy, to create resuscitation, to create an avenue for people to live. But people cannot continuously live on short-term cash transfer.
Okay. Now let's look
what
at.
What we need to do is to create avenue for them to earn income and sustain themselves.
Now, let's look at this cash transfer you've talked about. 8,000 naira possibly to 12 million homes, depending on the state and local government register that will be created. I believe that's what it's going to be. Given our current state, inflation 22.79%, unemployment high, cost of things high, will 8,000 naira be enough? One, two. The money that we will be transferring to people is likely to be borrowed money. If we borrow the money, given that we service our debt with 99+% of our revenue generated, will that not also still put us in a difficult position? Short term or long term?
These policies are short-term measures. Now take a look at it. At 22.7% inflationary rate. And then in the next 6 months, we are transferring 8,000 naira. 8,000 naira for the next 6 months will be giving us close to 48,000 for an individual. What is 48,000 naira in the Nigerian economy? In the town south where you live today, a bag of rice is between 35 and 40,000. So that means is the individual going to survive on a bag of rice for the next 6 months? What is the number of the household that make up? So like I said now, taking a critical analysis of the circular flow of income, an economy that is exposed to too much consumption without investment is prone to externality. And again, you rightly pointed out that Nigeria is exposed debt-wise on a high level. So if we continue to borrow and fund consumption without borrowing to fund investment, our exposure to externalities is heightened, and that will lead to a state where our ability to meet short-term survival needs might be threatened, such as healthcare delivery. Don't be surprised. Without that where you live today, in a short while, the environment will be exposed to what? Will be exposed to another environmental hazard, such as flooding. Take a critical look at what happened last year, where the road between Yenegoa and Port Harcourt was washed out. So, you talk about trade, vehicular movement, and economic activities between those two states were cut off. Yenegoa and Delta State, the same thing. Will citizens of that region, for instance, survive on 8,000, given the economic hardship all over Nigeria? I said earlier on, I am not a critic of the government. Please do not see me from that light. But I'm looking at it from the point of data analysis, from policy analysis, and from the place of development and the humanitarian paradigm. These are the prisms upon which I'm looking at this policy. What we need to look at, like I said earlier from my opening statement, it is a short-term measure designed to create survival strategies for citizens. The short-term measures for survival approach cannot sustain an individual in the long term. So why the government intends to apply this and keep applying, what is important is for the government to develop an implementation strategy that will resuscitate the economic activities in Nigeria, that is able to create employment, generate stability, increase security, and enhance the purchasing power of the naira against dollar. This is when our economic development will be said to be on the right foundation, and the citizens will enjoy a better policy, a long-term effect on the government economic strategy. Thank you.
All right, final question before I let you go. So in the long term, what can the federal government do? What policy can they reel out to ensure, that we begin to build all the things we need to build and strengthen our, naira against foreign currencies and all the likes, so that,
Thank you very much.
we don't get into a bigger problem?
In the long term, Nigeria is one of the simplest countries to actually govern for several reasons. Number one, we have a problem that's man-made. Let's tackle security. Security across the length and breadth of Nigeria is the key. When we tackle security, revive agriculture. When we revive agriculture, the essence of agriculture, reviving agriculture, is to improve our calorie intake across the length and breadth of Nigeria. And then to increase food reserves, and then to promote sales of agricultural produce. And that will enable federal government, state, local, to earn income, local and foreign income. Against that background, we will now develop what we call agricultural value chain that will enable us to do agribusiness, create industries that depend on agriculture, and then promote tech hubs. The economy will be revived, employment will be created, stability will be enhanced, food intake, the calorie intake of every Nigerian will be assured, and peace and stability will be enhanced. So this is what we need to do. We need to bring campaign as an urgent matter. Stakeholders engagement in security matter.
All right.
In security status of the country, so that our stability as a country will be enhanced. In addition to the fact that it will enable foreign investment to be attracted into the country, because no good investor that probably might borrow his funds from his country will be willing to invest in a fragile environment, in a volatile economy, and in a country that's exposed to conflict always. So this is what we need to do as Nigerians. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Ilugo, who is an economist and a development expert. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, listeners on radio. It's my pleasure always. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Cheers.
All right then. Let's go to the phone lines now. You can air your views. You've heard the Economist. You've heard him speak, and he says he's not a critic of government. He's just airing his view based on the data before him. So short term it's good, long term it's bad, and so we have to do the short term to get to the long term, but we don't have to use the short term as the long term. So does this change how you see this thing? Because he says, yes, the money might be small, but it's still necessary. I'm going to quickly take this call. 92.3 Nigeria Info. Okay. Connection issues there. Sorry about that. Keep your calls coming in. The commercial break around the corner. 0817-923-0002. 0817-923-0003. Let's get to hear you and what you think about this issue. The economic reliefs released by the National Economic Council. Do you think it's good? Hello, what's your name?
Hello, yeah, good evening, Canada. My name is Richard. I'm calling you from Port Harcourt here.
Richard, quickly.
Yeah, I agree with what your guest says in most of the area, but the area I did not agree with him is a short-time measure.
Okay.
I think when a man sells his dog and buy monkey, the thing that squat is still in his house. There is no need giving anybody 5,000 that you borrowed or 8,000 that you borrowed when you cannot do something that will sustain the man for a very long time. I think Nigerians who have been enduring this hardship with the strong hope that things will be better. It is unfortunate that our political leaders have been, putting our hope to elude us whenever we think that things will be better. There is no need giving us palliative. In fact, eventually all the Nigerians who have said that we don't need palliative, give us a situation whereby we suffer this thing for now. But in the nearest future, we'll have things that will say, yes, this is something that come out of our endurance and all the rest of that. Please, this is what we want. Let them hold the palliative. Let them use the money for the palliative and give us infrastructure that will give us employment, infrastructure that will reduce our suffering in the nearest future.
All right, thank you very much,
They
Richard.
should forget about the installative, please.
All right,
That
thank you.
short-term measure, we don't need it for now.
Thank you
let
very
them
much.
allow us to go through what we are going through for now, but let us know where we are heading to.
I'm letting you go. I'm sorry. I've got Uche from Port Harcourt.
Good evening.
Yeah, Uche, welcome.
Please, I want to contribute to the conversation going on.
All right, I'm listening.
Let me start by saying that it's really unfortunate that the managers of our economy, leaders, are always putting the horse before the cart. I don't understand why in all of this conversation, nobody have talked about repairing our refineries to ensure that we refine crude oil and then get petroleum that we so much need in this country. It's really unfortunate. That's one. Then secondly, your guest spoke about what do you call it, long-term and short-term measures. I quite agree with him. It is important that even as we are trying to ensure that the people, the effect of the subsidy removal is cushioned, the question is, what are we going to do in the long run to sustain some of these measures?
All right.
It's really unfortunate that somebody may eat today, and after 6 months, the person goes back to
square one. All right. Thank you very much, Uche. Thank you, Uche. I've got to go now. Thank you very much for your time and your contribution. The commercial break coming up, and after that, the news. When we come back, the open season, we will talk about this.